Hey, happy Friday everybody. It's great to be back with another video. I recently just took my vacation around like 2 weeks ago, and it was a fantastic time and everything, but I was also kind of making videos during that time, so for a minute there, I just took a break, so I apologize about not uploading too much, but I love you guys, I promise more content is on the way soon, and it's just good to be back. On with the video though. Most of you guys really seem to enjoy when I talk about the Tales Up series, and I honestly really enjoy it as well. So I'm back again to try to give you guys more of what you'd like to see, and what better way to do that than to trigger other people with my unpopular opinions about the series. I'm sure this video is gonna go so well. I just know it. I do stress though, this is only my silly opinion, so try not to take it too personally. However, it sure would be great if someone out there really feels the same though. Try not to leave a brother hanging. Without further ado, let's let the magic happen. First on my list, it's Tales of Symphonia: Dawn of the New World. And honestly, I've seen so many people write this game off without even actually playing it. They either assumed it was a Pokemon clone, or that it was just too cutesy because it was a Wii exclusive. And I'm here to tell you that those assumptions are total garbage. I'm planning to go into full depth with this game at a later date, but know that it is a very enjoyable time, and that it did actually try to push the envelope with some characters of the first Symphonia game, especially Lloyd in particular. I also really enjoyed Emil and Marta's relationship. I'm a big sucker for romance in the first place, but I also really enjoyed that Johnny Young Bosch voices Emil in the dub as well. He's my overall favorite voice actor, so I guess that kind of throws some brownie points in the game's favor as well, but either way, I promise, the game's still good regardless. And also, the monster or quote-unquote Pokemon mechanic isn't even really that bad as well. I actually kind of enjoyed it. The monsters didn't become too much of a chore to become stronger in the first place, and honestly, for most of the game, you can kind of just ignore the monster gathering part altogether. Because you and Marta are in a party along with probably guest characters. I mean, you guys are already powerful on your own anyway. The monsters are just added damage and bonus, honestly. Like, the game seriously doesn't force this mechanic down your throat too much, and I really did enjoy it much more for that. And lastly, Dawn of the New World is technically canon with the Symphonia universe. I'd highly encourage anyone who has previously wrote it off or just refused to play it, please give it another shot. There's a ton of great things to be found in this semi-sequel, and I promise you won't be disappointed. And I honestly can't wait to go further in depth later on at another date. Hopefully look forward to that coming out soon. Next up is the wonderful Tales of Vesperia. This game gets a really bad rap for being one of the worst Tales games ever, and while I think it's personally low on my list as well, I really think that there are actually a few good things that Vesperia did really well. For those of you who've seen my other video on the ranking of the Tales protagonist, you know that I really like Soraya as a character. And speaking of characters, I felt like most of them were handled really well, honestly. I know I have a soft spot for Edna at least, especially when you consider the events of Vesperia and how it all comes together into play. I also really enjoyed that Vesperia actually does permanently kill off one of your party members. Even though a good bit of the story could have been told much better, that scene did leave some impact on me, and did make the game after that point much more bearable in places to play. Lastly, I'd say that I thought the mechanic of Held Off or randomly popping up in places throughout the game was also amazing. You'd seriously just be going through the area grinding or getting items or whatever you're doing, you know, and bam, malevolence everywhere and the screen goes dark and you can barely walk and you're like, oh my gosh, what the crap is going on? I know the first time that happened to me, I was so freaked out. And yes, you can even fight him too. If you bear the long walk, if you travel that distance to wherever he is just standing there, you can fight him. Now obviously you can't do anything in the fight, but it was still awesome with how that was in the game. Just those little touches made Vesperia worth playing alone. And of all the complaints Vesperia gets, there are really nice touches and detail throughout the experience. Through all the rubble, through all the annoying garbage, and through all of just the lackluster storytelling, there is a diamond hidden within all of it. Next, we have good old Jade Curtis. Okay, so hear me out with this one. I know several people in the fandom that swear up and down that Jade is the best character in the entire series. Which look, You know, people can have whatever opinion they want to, and you have every right to think what you want to think. But I mean, seriously, man, like, the best character in the entire Tales series, like that, I think that's kind of stretching it a little bit. Jade is literally only liked so much because he's a tsundere. He's just one of those witty, annoying, smart guys that just owns you everywhere he can get. And one that I actually found for a good part of the game very annoying and not helpful at all. He's like that taunting senpai that's only out to get you and to ridicule anything you do, even though you're like trying your best. And again, I'm not saying that Jade doesn't have good qualities, and he honestly does have a very good deep backstory. But I mean, come on, man. The best character in the series, really? Like, I'm so surprised with how many people have rode this guy's jacket for this long. He's honestly way too much of a stereotype for me to like at least that much. You want to know who is the actual best character in Abyss? Guy Cecil, baby. Guy is amazing, and he deserves so much more love than he gets. And that guy, funny, just like, he's great. He's like your best friend, and he's like your best bro. Like, and it also helps that he is voiced by Johnny Young Bosch, you know, favorite voice actor there, plug. You know, it's a good thing I'm not biased or anything. But Guy, to me, is the most underrated character in Abyss. His fighting style, his whole character arc, everything. He deserves so much more love, and Guy, I'm right there with you, bro. Another wonderful thing on the topic of unpopular opinions would most definitely be Tales of Xillia. I think Tales of Xillia is a very by the numbers basic Tales game. It doesn't really push the envelope in any direction, and even the main conflict of the game gets resolved without too much consequence of anything. It also feels like Xillia was literally made with the sequel in mind, and that's what really bugs me about it so much. I would have much rather had a very solid core experience from game to game, rather than feeling like I'm only playing part one of a series of games leading up to the next one. It's because of all those reasons, honestly, that I prefer Xillia 2 over the first game. I absolutely do hate the ending to Xillia 2, both of them, but I do at least think Xillia 2 pushed the characters to make important decisions, and that there were at least actual consequences tied to what was going on in the world. Like, at least there was an actual threat in the second game. And again, I'm not trying to diss Xillia that harshly. It's the final game from the original Tales team after all. I just feel like the game is so tainted because of that lack of importance and impact to me. It also didn't help that Xillia was the first game in the New Age series to introduce that copy-paste engine that I really hate and I've already previously talked about. Check out that video if you haven't, by the way. But with all the build-up and experience the Tales team has had over the years, just knowing that Xillia was the final game that they produced, like, I felt like it should have been way much more of an epic game, a massive explosion of awesomeness. And instead, we just kind of got a by the numbers game in the series. And to me, I feel like the original legacy that the series had is always going to be tainted by that last game, by Xillia. And regardless of your opinions and regardless of how great you might think it is, I think just, to me, overall, it's lackluster when compared to the original games in the series, that original 15 years. But either way, I mean, at least it's somewhat enjoyable to play. And probably the last thing on the video, at least for this time, I'll be talking about the fan base of the Tales of series. And over the years, I've honestly had the honor and privilege to meet so many people who played and loved the series just as I have, which the games are truly amazing, and they've got some truly amazing characters. So it's no wonder that people become so attached to them. They've touched a chord with me, and hopefully for all of you as well. I say this, however, because I feel as if our fan base can seriously get way too defensive and toxic at times, especially when it comes to things we don't agree with. I feel like this issue has become better over recent years, with newer fans joining the series and such, but especially when you consider the old days with like the original Tales of games, even way back into the 2D era, felt like people just, wow, they had their opinions and they were very strong and strict and wanted everybody to feel the same. And like I said, like I do feel like this issue has gotten better. I do definitely think that more so elitism in the series is still very much there. That disdain that if somebody doesn't hold your game and opinions to the same regard, that you're not a true fan or that you're just beneath them. I found myself constantly almost having to reassure others that when I'm talking about opinions or just content in the Tales of series, that I do still really value their opinion and what they say, regardless of how we may feel, because of those past experiences that maybe they've had shared or that I've shared. And honestly, that's so sad to me, that these games and characters that we've grown so deeply with, to love and to grow with, that they can become a place of negativity and hate. The exact opposite of what these games have taught us, that whether you're a clone, a shepherd, a lord of calamity, or something in between of all that you can find acceptance and love from others. And I know I try my hardest to live that out wherever I go. I guess the main point I'm making here is that just to respect where others are coming from, to respect their opinions regardless of if you don't agree with them, to not take things so personally in the first place, even within our lovely Tales fandom. The last thing I'd want is for our fandom to become an unwelcoming place, a place that's not fit for new people to join. You know, remember the sacrifices all our lovely characters have made throughout the years out there to create that light and hope that we cling on to so much, to become something better than who we once were. But lastly though, I think that's about it for the video. I really hope you enjoyed and vibed of some of my thoughts personally. Let me know if you'd like more videos like this, and maybe some of your unpopular opinions about the series in the comments below. I'd love to see what they are. I know I really enjoyed making it and just kind of venting and talking about some of the things that I personally don't really like too much about the series. And hopefully somebody out there at least agrees with some of how I feel or something like that. But either way though, major love to each and every one of you guys. More content coming up soon. And until next time.